Welcome everybody to the Plymouth Select Board workshop. Tonight we'll be holding an economic development workshop. It is Wednesday, June 24th, 2026. The time is 6:05 p.m. Per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, any person may make a video and audio recording of an open session of a meeting of the Select Board after notifying the chair, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair so as not to interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any recordings. I'm aware of the local scene recording is a recording. Oh, okay. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 and Act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed into law on March 28, 2025, this meeting will be conducted via remote means and in person. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so in the following manner. Tune into the local scene government cable access channels, Comcast Channel 9 or Verizon Channel 47, and watch the meeting as it is aired live or watch it recorded later. Or watch the meeting live on the local scene website or YouTube channel. Members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner. You can join us in person. Tonight we are in the Rope Walk Room at Plymouth Town Hall, 26 4th Street. Or you can join us remotely by clicking on the Zoom link that is in our meeting agenda. Please join the board in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. All right, let's get started. So today we are going to do the first of a two-part workshop focused on economic development. And we're doing this workshop with the goal of coming up with an action plan, some actionable items, steps that we can take to move the needle on economic development in Plymouth over the next 5 years. So the goal that we've set for this workshop is, here's the question. What actions can we take in the next 5 years to increase commercial tax base while preserving our environmental resources and the character of our community? I think we've all built this into our campaign messaging at various times as we were running for office. So we thought this was a good idea for us to all get together and really have a focused discussion on economic development. Our assistant town manager, Lauren Lind, who is the town manager for economic development, is going to be leading us through most of this discussion tonight. So thank you very much for that, Lauren. Thank you. And in the room, we have myself, Mr. Canty, and Mr. Cohan. And joining us by Zoom, hopefully tonight, will be Mr. Golden, who has had a death in his family, and he's still dealing with that, the services and other associated activities with that. And we're expecting that Mr. Quintal will be joining us at some point soon as well. So I did hand out to the group a little discussion guide that just kind of lays out the steps of what we'll be talking about. So right now we are in the introduction phase of the process, and we're going to move into hearing from Lauren Lind about the current state of economic development in Plymouth. And then she will lead us through a SWOT analysis where we'll have an interactive discussion of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that we see around economic development strategies and initiatives. So with that, Lauren, I'm going to just turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. For your packets in preparation, I had just redistributed section 5 of the comprehensive plan that is focused on the economy. And so I don't want to spend too much time here. I'm going to quickly summarize some major themes, and then I really want to spend the majority of the conversation tonight going through the SWOT analysis and hearing from you. And then once we have filled out that, we'll get to some prioritization. So as you know, Plymouth's economy, it serves two key functions. That's providing jobs and services for our residents, and then also generating property tax revenue to support the town's general fund. Historically, our economy has been rooted in the working harbor and fishing industry, as well as our maritime and coastal identity. Emerging economic strengths that we've seen in recent history are healthcare and social services, the tourism and hospitality industry, and then growing blue economy is an interest here in town. You all are familiar with the Blue Future conference that has been taking place. It's been going on for, I believe it's been 4 years already, and every year we're seeing more and more interest. For example, over in Portage Park, there are now 2 businesses that had been attracted here through that avenue that are interested in the blue economy and working on robotics and aqua infrastructure that are now based here in Plymouth. So that has been a small success story that we can see. Long term, the comprehensive plan goes to talk about economic goals, building a diverse and resilient economy, leveraging Plymouth's heritage and the waterfront assets. I already mentioned blue economy, and then attracting visitors year-round, trying to become more of a year-round destination as opposed to, we have a high volume in the summer, but also, what industries can we create so that not all of our eggs are in one basket, that we can diversify and have a bit more stability year-round. In terms of employment trends, we're seeing that local jobs have increased by approximately 40% since the early 2000s. Many jobs remain concentrated in retail, dining, and hospitality. Healthcare and social services are.
I'm sorry. So that was since 2019, local jobs, opportunities.
Early 2000s. Early 2000s, we've seen about 40% increase.
A 40% increase in what was that again?
Local jobs.
Local jobs.
Any type.
Correct. Yes. Correct.
Okay.
We have healthcare and social services are major employment sectors here. We know we have the hospital and growing and satellite offices. And then the focus on the blue economy in that discussion really thinks about higher wage jobs above those that are your traditional retail, dining, hospitality industries. And then looking also at expanding our commercial and industrial tax base. Right now, we're approximately 87% residential. The remaining would be commercial. And typically, as a rule of thumb in economic development, they say that having a 25% commercial tax base is sustainable for, future growth and keeping up with cost of living increases.
Lauren, do we have an idea of how many municipalities are actually able to strike that balance of 25%, 75%?
I don't have that figure right now, but I can tell you that comparatively, a lot of our communities in the Peer region are, we're better than that. I mean, I've worked in other communities where it's almost, like 85% or more residential, that 96%. So that is a strength for Plymouth. That said, it's not in terms of sustaining long-term. We know that increasing our commercial tax base would be beneficial for long-term fiscal stability.
So you said that you typically would like to see 25% commercial, 75% residential. That's sustainable.
That's sort of a rule of thumb of economic development. Yeah.
Right now, Plymouth is
13%.
13% commercial.
Correct.
Yeah.
87.
Or 17%. I'm not doing math correctly. Yes.
17.
No, because you said we're at 87.
83%.
Oh, 83 then?
Yes.
So it's not 87%, it's 83 residential.
Oh,
And 17% commercial.
17.
And that's better than our peer communities?
Many of them, right? Not all.
we're deluging you with questions right now.
That's okay.
So peer community, like, what is a peer community?
I'm just referencing the South Shore, like South Shore of Massachusetts.
I figured it was geographically based, but obviously we have some unique characteristics, so.
Correct, right. So challenges that we're seeing, economic growth has not kept pace with residential development over the past 20 years. We all know the impact of the closure of the nuclear power plant, significant impact on the commercial tax base. Recent growth has really, as I mentioned, residential development. And I think something that is critical to keep a focus on is that as major housing developments like Pine Hills and Redbrook come to build out, those developments alone have been driving about 35 to 40% of our new growth every year for the past 5 years. We had the assessor look back at that. So as we think about both of these communities coming to build out within the next 4 to 5 years, that's going to be a substantial drop off in a consistent stream of new growth for residential.
When you say that, 20 years ago, do you know what it was 20 years ago, residential, commercial, what that relationship was?
I don't have that figure, but yeah.
But it's just been dropping from somewhere to where it is today.
Are you talking about the balance between?
Well, no, you mentioned 20 years ago, in the last 20 years, the commercial has been dropping.
Right, I don't have the percent breakdown, but I'll work with the assessor to gather that information. Sure, so, of course, as we think about commercial land, we have limited land left for commercial availability. And what we want to try to discourage from happening is seeing land that is zoned for industrial commercial uses being converted to residential uses, because that only just eats up more of the commercial base. I already mentioned tourism, retail, and economic diversification. Tourism and retail remain significant employers in this area. Tourism performance rates, across the state and nearby communities, we are doing well. However, it is fairly stagnant. We're not seeing a lot of growth in the tourism industry, and that's not unique to Plymouth. That's the state itself. So as we continue to see this stagnation of the growth tourism industry, if that is a major economic driver in our community, we really want to think about diversifying that for sustainability.
How much of that is tied to the political climate?
There has been.
If it can be, it's a cyclical thing.
I would say yes. Currently, with international travel being more complicated than it was, that has had an impact on tourism.
Well, plus the macroeconomic stressors, that's the first thing people cut off is their vacation and eating out.
Well, and even, the gas prices, flights and everything, it's
Right.
just, it all, right, exactly. It all plays into one another.
So you
So.
say tourism is kind of flat.
Correct. It's strong in that we still have a strong tourism economy here, but it is not growing exponentially. It's sort of a consistent rate.
Okay, so when you do the tourism analysis, how do they do it? It's just like people coming from Ohio and Pennsylvania, or is it people from day tripping from Pembroke?
It would include all of that. It's
Anybody anyone coming over the borders to do anything?
right.
From someone from Kingston to California.
Correct.
And you were saying tourism was flat and retail was up or down?
Retail remains strong.
And then health, you said the other two were the health and social services, they are strong too?
Right. Especially at the hospital here, we do have a strength there, but what we're seeing is, medical offices and things of that nature, and these sort of smaller satellite medical facilities is a demand for it. And particularly as we think about our demographics with an aging community, there is correlation there and a need for social and medical services.
Can you give an example of social services? Is that what are we talking about?
It could be
Addiction treatment.
right, addiction treatment, mental health counseling.
Okay.
Correct.
Halfway sober recovery centers, IOPs,
Right.
scopes.
Right.
And that's a strong, growing portion.
I would say growing.
Growing, okay.
And even we recently had a discussion about the proposal at Benny's Plaza.
Yeah.
That would be considered, that type of, while it's a residential development, it offers social services and medical services in the facility. So it's a service.
Can I bring you back?
Sure.
5 minutes? Because you mentioned that we want to protect our land that's zoned for light industrial, protect that from 40B developments or housing developments. Has that happened recently? Like, can we point to an example where there's this land that had been zoned for commercial light industrial that we would have liked to have kept there, yet went to, what was that?
The Oasis is
The
one.
Oasis, okay.
Even where it used to be Claremont, it's now Canso. That
Okay.
is, that was a commercial plaza area.
So if that's what's happening to our commercial, it's being eaten up by residential, so the market is that's what the market will bear right now. It's like the people with money that want to do something to make money is investing in housing rather than a shopping center so that's what's happening. They have an option. What do you want to do with your money?
Right.
And it seems like they're pursuing housing in these areas that, but can you only pursue residential in these areas through a 40B, or is it?
40B allows you to waive the zoning of that part.
That's what we've lost.
Yeah.
The
Right.
40Bs.
Right. For the two examples we just gave, and even, for example, there had been one proposal that was the old medical office down on Sandwich Street. That technically is a residential area.
Yeah.
That was a rezoning, but that structure had been pre-existing. So that was a commercial use there.
Yeah.
There was a proposal to come and put in a residential use. And, while that is a residential district now, many years ago it wasn't. So it's also been a result of some rezoning. So
that's another huge reason why we need to get at that into safe harbor.
Right.
For beyond the temporary status that we're in now.
Right.
We're serious about economic development and using the lands that we have available for that.
Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting linkage.
Well, and even it's looking at some of our existing uses, because another example I can give you is that in some of our, I forget the specific zone it is, but it's over Samoset Street. There's a parcel that someone came in, was inquiring about elderly housing, which is a very specific definition in our bylaw, but through a special permit process, there are some commercial adjacent uses that are zones that you could make an argument to put in elderly housing, which is just age-restricted housing. And that is something that's a policy decision. Do you want to continue to allow that? Because then that eats out again from under the, what could be a commercial use.
Right.
You know, to your point,
So say that again, what did it happen? You said on Samoset Street, something happened to
There was a
commercial
property-
property, wasn't
yes.
40B,
no,
it was,
elderly housing is a use in our bylaw that is age restricted, 55 and older. And there are some zones that allow, that are, would
some
be-
commercial zones.
some commercial zones that would allow for a special permit process for elderly housing.
Okay,
Um,
that happened on.
it hasn't happened in this scenario. Is someone looking for it, and our, you know, immediate quick look at it was, well, how could they propose this use? And then when you look at the use table, that is an allowed special permit use. So you can see how these things would happen, and that's by not necessarily a 40B, but it's just the zoning that exists. So as we look at that, do we want to change those allowances?
So are you keeping an eye on those things that we should look at to consider changing?
Yes, yes. There are other problems with the elderly housing bylaw that is a different topic from tonight, but we'll be addressing that soon, actually. Yes.
And the other thing too, I just want to add that, you know, the closure of the power plant has really impacted the commercial residential split, right? Because when that closed, I mean, at one point that represented 50% of the tax base, 50% commercial, 50% residential. You know, and then once that closed, I mean, it's not like we lost a bunch of small commercial industries. We lost one big commercial industry that represented a large portion of that commercial split. So, I mean, and I think it was just like a false sense of security that we had a strong commercial residential split. But once that closed, we didn't realize the large percentage the power plant represented. Yeah.
I'm gonna put up on the screen for you some of the key trends, because as we've just been discussing some highlights here, I'll zoom out so you can actually see it. Some key existing conditions and trends here. So Plymouth hosts around 27,000 jobs in more than 2,000 establishments. Another just shy of 3,000 are self-employed through a variety of industries that don't show up in payroll numbers. You know, most of Plymouth's residents commute out of town for work. 74% are going out. We have, as I already mentioned, health and social services are a dominant industry. That's about 22% of local jobs. Hospitality and retail sectors combined is 28%. Establishments have grown at more than 2.5 times the rate of employments. And so establishment growth creates demand. This industry mix suggests that if the present trends continue, the need for the following types of space may occur: the need for industrial yard type space for support contractors, small office space to support professional industries, finances, starter or entrepreneurial industries, medical and restaurant office space, growth industries to drive local space, like marine technology, we mentioned, water access. You know, that would be essential. Cottage Park is a great location there because you have water access. But even thinking about like commercial kitchens, we've heard that even like the food truck industry or things of that nature rely on commercial kitchens to get their supplies up and ready in their products. So distribution, warehousing, these are things that are not necessarily what you might think of as typical industrial use, but that the community could have sort of an ecosystem of uses that feed into one another that help create a more sustainable, diverse system. Some other key points, we spoke about retail. It's still a strong industry here in that it's one of our primary industries, but from the comprehensive plan, we learned that retail sales between 2018 and 2022 have shrunk by 11 million. Merchandise sales declined, food and beverage have increased. You know, and again, these may be cyclical, there's things, but tourism in Plymouth in 2022 totaled 711 million in expenditures, slower than the state overall and slower than adjacent areas such as Bristol County and Cape Cod. However, actual tourism expenditures shrank by 23 million when accounting for inflation. So that's what I mean when I say we have a strong tourism industry. However, it is stagnant. We're not seeing increasing, you know, it's like this long term, unless we look for options to diversify or strengthen year round. You see that how even the inflation catches up. Agriculture and fisheries, strong industries in the community, but we know that the cranberry industry in particular is shrinking.
Mhm.
The cranberry industry in Plymouth currently uses about 1,000 acres. That is a fifth largest in the state and 7% of the total statewide average, generating approximately 6.8 million of crop value. But we know the cranberry industry is, like, as I mentioned, you have bogs that are either closing up. It's not as competitive anymore. And there's also the typical cranberry farmer, they may be nearing end of career, wanting to retire, and we're not seeing a trend that's typical that younger generations are taking over that industry. So when it comes that the cranberry farmer decides to retire, what happens, right?
It was Walter Morrison gave a presentation to the about the cranberry industry, and he said exactly that, but he also added that the average cranberry grower now is like 67.
Right.
It's not, it's an aging population. It's not getting younger, it's getting older. And when these people end, it ends.
Exactly.
So we're the fifth largest in the state. We have 1,000 acres in play right now.
Correct. And that was
22.
2022 was some of this data, right? So some of these things are, like as we are now in 2026, maybe slightly different now. That said, the other thing was commercial and fishing industry that's similar. It's important to our cultural heritage, and we want to maintain a working waterfront. But that said, that's also not a thriving industry.
What numbers do we have on that? How many people operating out of Plymouth?
I don't know that I have those figures.
Coming in.
I don't think I have those figures readily available.
Yeah.
5 million in catch came in 2023.
5 million catch.
181 vessels.
181 vessels.
Let's see.
Not 181 trips with vessels operating,
181 vessels.
In 2023, 181 vessels landed approximately 5 million in catch value. This is down from 2018 when more than 200 vessels landed 6 million in catch value in Plymouth.
But that doesn't include aquaculture kinds of activities.
Correct, right.
It's just fish.
Right. Or
Fishing,
lobster, right.
Anything that you're going out and catching in the net.
Correct.
Hot.
This is fish lobster, but how many aqua licenses do we have?
Not that many.
I don't have that figure.
We don't have very.
They're not hot.
There's small. There's those, the clam shell, the razor clams, the upwellers. There's not that many.
In operating out of Plymouth.
Yeah.
They're all out of Duxbury.
There's more there, yeah. But even they don't have that many unique, because they take a decent amount of real estate.
Yeah.
It is growing in Plymouth. I mean, it hasn't grown, but incrementally, it's
Yeah.
not like that.
I've gone to a couple of harbor committees and I've talked to Chad, and it just seemed like they I think they were out seeding.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of stuff.
They're doing, it takes like 2 to 3 years to get it going from when you start.
Right. And you have to have the right
If we're running-
environment for it as well, because some of, particularly in areas where you don't have, we don't have sewer, the septic, the nitrogen loads that come off that, sometimes the water is prohibited. So,
Well, we can't sell them the EU because of our current
right.
discharge.
So,
Okay.
so anyway, so that's just setting the table, talking about goals. So this is just citing the comprehensive plan, which is up here. The specific goals, the comprehensive plan came up. I won't go through the sub bullets, but developing tools like acquisition zoning mechanisms, strategies to preserve existing yet underutilized industrial zone land for future use, amending zoning bylaws to increase viability of these uses, as well as research and development uses, updating the 2017 harbor plan to reflect changes in the ocean-based blue economy and resilience needs. I will mention that these last two that I've just mentioned are things that the town is already implementing that are underway. The harbor plan update is ongoing, and we have actually the planning board at 7 will be hearing from a consultant on the first round of an industrial evaluation of the Camelot and the Plymouth industrial parks. And they've gone through and analyzed that for sort of like a low-hanging fruit approach of what the existing industrial zones allow and what might be some recommendations to expand potential for those areas.
That's great. So which one does that support?
That was E2.
Okay.
Yes. E4, support upgrading visitor-related facilities such as public infrastructure, expanded meeting space, overnight options that are not short-term rentals, with the aim of increasing visitor spending levels and reducing the seasonality of visitors implement.
When it says expanded meeting space, what does that mean? Like this type of meeting?
So there had been discussion in recent years about a convention center. That could be a use where, for example, I mean, there's limited options if you want to have something like the Blue Future Economy.
Right.
You could have a conference at, we have a few hotels, we have the Patuxent Museum, but it's limited in its availability and
So
capacity.
it's really like conference.
Right. And if you had more availability for something like a conference expo center, you then driving in the off season.
Do we ever market Memorial Hall for that purpose?
Not to my knowledge. No, Derek's saying no.
Because it's, a space that could accommodate that you go out and like we've gone to, I think when I first got elected, there was something we went to, and in the evening, you were there separately at Memorial Hall, with like tables set up around, I forget what it was, but like, it's similar to what they do in like the lobby of 1620.
Yeah, they do a lot of like holiday markets and things like
Yeah.
that.
So they,
You could
if you,
expand it to a business.
right, you could do a business fair, you could do an issue based, I mean, they don't really have, they have the blue room upstairs if you had like a meeting space like that, the 1620.
They did have, about 25 years ago, the town owned, the town acquired the visitors nurses building. It used to be the Mason's Temple, next to it. That building next to it was the Mason Temple, then it was visiting nurses, and when they sold it, the town bought it. We tried to make a senior center out of it. We decided to take an elevator, and the shaft flooded, and they went back to town meeting, and they wanted to do something. The town meeting said no, and that all got shut down, and then the building got rented.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a point there during the ownership of it. The idea was, why don't we said there was a developer who came along and said that they were thinking about taking the building and redeveloping it and connecting it to Memorial Hall so that it was part of Memorial Hall. So you'd have Memorial Hall, but then you would office space and mini convention space where you could have these capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
But the building next to Memorial Hall had been talked about 25 years ago about maybe we don't sell it, maybe we merge it.
Right.
And someone came along and they said, well, I have the money to invest in it. How would that work? But it all kind of came to an end. But now the building's up for sale again.
Right, it is.
So I'll just keep an eye on it.
Right. And this timely conversation, because the Memorial Hall study will be ongoing soon, future use of that. So, within the next 14 weeks, we'll have.
Yeah, because like that RFP for convention center didn't go anywhere.
Right.
And it doesn't appear that the market is there right now. But even if Memorial Hall isn't the best solution for it, if there was demonstrated demand for the space, then that could encourage the market to solve the problem, as opposed to where there's apparently seemingly little demand.
You could try, that might be a goal to create demand for it. We decided marketing that in that way makes sense.
Right.
I just remember the conversation was Memorial Hall is pretty much a box. And you got like in there, and there's no space to put anything, or store anything, or have any exhibits really.
But you could,
That's why that little building was very interesting to people. Like, gee, this building here could solve the problem of Memorial Hall not acting in the highest function.
I know we're going down
Right.
just a little bit, but this is so interesting. But if we were really serious about using Memorial Hall as a conference center, there's no reason why we couldn't like invest in temporary walls and that sort of thing. To set up breakout rooms in part of the downstairs area, to try to configure it in a way that would be useful.
Mm-hmm.
We could think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Do you think it's worthwhile looking at that building next door to see what its possibilities are? Because supporting Memorial Hall expands Memorial Hall. So I know that over the years, I've heard a lot of criticism of Memorial Hall. Why is it just doing what it's doing?
Yeah.
Because it's limited in its capabilities. And at different times, people have turned their attention to this building and thought of it as, if we acquired a building like that next to this building, maybe we can connect them and you would solve the problem of why Memorial Hall isn't rented out.
You talking about the New Hope Chapel building?
So the New Hope Chapel building was once owned by the town of Plymouth. We bought it from the visiting nurses.
Yeah.
And during this period of time when we owned it, there was some talk about, wow, Memorial Hall is running short on some of its capabilities. We were looking for like a mini conference center, and the thought was, hey, this building next to it, if we attach them, that would solve the problem of Memorial Hall, where you had this capability next door to handle that mini convention concept. So it was the building next door they were looking at to kind of address the shortcomings of Memorial Hall, so we could attract people to use Memorial Hall for their big things, but then have the conference over here. So, you know, it was something that came up. I just remembered it talked about now that this building next door is for sale. I just feel like we've got to revisit it in terms of economic
But I think
development.
I think it's a great thought, and to your point, the time is right, because we're about to kick that off. And that's actually, that study is on a fast track, so
Right.
14 weeks, that's
Quick, right?
that's really
Right, but
quick.
we already know Memorial Hall is gonna be an expensive endeavor in and of itself. We don't really have like a lot of cash laying around or a lot of debt.
Well, we can do a GoFundMe for it.
Yeah.
Get money that way.
But
Okay,
I mean, I suppose in theory, if the Memorial Hall study says, you know, this could be a potential use, however, you don't have X,
Yeah.
but guess what, next door has that potential, then that conversation.
right, but if money is a necessary component of that.
Right.
obviously.
Yeah.
But then it's, I mean, again, another question on the table is, does the town want to be in the entertainment industry, or do you
Right, you
work
want.
with a nonprofit? Do you go, you know, for,
Yeah.
so I think
We got a
these
lot
are,
of questions.
these are things that can be teased out in this discussion.
Yes, I would say, I mean, I'm a proponent of acquiring land, because when you own land, you can determine its future use. And we did have a conversation today about that building you're referring to. That building was originally listed, you know, from the 3.1.
Yeah.
And the last I was told yesterday, it's now listed at 1.7. So if there is a serious, if you guys want to have a serious conversation on buying that building, I would wait the study to be complete, because it would probably be purchased.
Scooped up, turning into condos.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that study would also help us understand what the return on investment could be if we decided to purchase
Is
that,
the study gonna be done by town meeting?
14 weeks.
but not in time to
It's
take
a
anything to
contract
town.
this week, so.
No, but would we be walking into town meeting with the results of the study?
Not for October town meeting now.
Cause they, like, you need to have a meeting to buy a building.
Mhm.
Right, the natural question would be, well, what the hell are you doing with that building already?
That's why the timing is just a little.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you're right, I would love to incorporate, even if there's like a change order, to the analysis, but to incorporate that building as part of the study to see what they could work in concert with each other. But I think we made this a vote because I know
It's dropping quickly.
I know there are already, because it's dropping dramatically in cost, there's interest out there.
Do you think, like, fall town meeting, we could do like a sneak preview of the results, depending on what they are? Do you know what I mean? Like, not anything that would be actionable, we'd have a town meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think would be, if we stayed true to the 14-week timeline, we would be in that mid-October window to have a final presentation that looks like. So you would have.
What was that again? I couldn't hear you take it out.
So the consultant suggested it would take 14 weeks to do the analysis. And so say we start on July 1st, that takes us to mid-October, right?
Town meeting's the 20th or thereabouts.
So you probably would have the results of that study, assuming they stay on track, right?
Right.
Of that 14 times, we would have the results of that study meeting. In order to.
Probably the 17th, it's the third Saturday.
It's
This is the 17th this year.
17?
Yeah.
Well, if it works out, I think that would be really helpful to just give a sneak preview, so, you know, to let people know what's to come, and then that would give us the ramp up to just communicate and.
For future funding,
educate
yes,
for
yes,
future funding,
yes.
so.
Right.
Just whet their appetite in the fall.
Okay,
Right.
so, just quickly back to the goals that were in the comprehensive plan, and then I want to turn it over, don't be sorry, that's why we're here. And then I want to turn it over to some analysis and hearing from you this has been a great conversation, so I just want to stay on that trend. Another goal was support Plymouth's food sector economy, which includes agriculture, seafood, food products, and restaurants to serve as a growth opportunity for jobs and tax base, as well as maintain community character. Continue supporting workforce development efforts for residents, introducing emerging industries such as blue tech to existing workforce development programs. Evaluate potential for flexible multi-tenant industrial buildings to attract the blue economy and other small tech manufacturers and businesses. Support the development of co-working space that provides flexible lease terms and some shared facilities. Enhance connections to the waterfront as an opportunity to build upon experience and event marketing downtown. And continue to support investments in activities in cultures, arts, and the environment that make Plymouth a destination community for talent and business investment. Integrate as part of the harbor plan. So with that, unless you have any other conversation points, I can get into the SWOT analysis.
Say it again.
The co-working space,
Yes,
they're like a WeWork,
yes, that's an example.
that hasn't, the WeWork not, I mean, obviously it's one company, but they didn't do very well.
I'm not sure about that business in particular, but I do know that particularly as we saw the increase of people either remote working
Yeah.
or, home businesses, there's a need for people wanting to not necessarily rent an office space, but have a place to meet, have a place to get away from their other people in their home.
Yeah.
So there has been an increase in that sort of need and demand, and we have seen other business models be successful in that. And
They were a big company that expanded rapidly and then collapsed.
Yeah, I think they grew too fast.
right,
Well, they grew like a tech business, even though they were a physical brick and mortar business. It didn't work.
There's a co-working space that's opening this weekend or it's very short.
in the near future.
So, yeah, very soon, that the foundation has been managing. Where is that located?
It's right in downtown above the Setting the Space building.
Oh, right, over Setting the Space. And that's a different company than.
Correct. It's a local company, I believe. But I mean, and again, it's also, some companies are startups. They may not be ready to fully rent an office space, but they can rent a cube or a desk at a place.
Right. No, it makes sense. There are definitely applications for it. I know WeWork kind of failed quite spectacularly, so that was my only.
Well, I think it's like a parallel story is the typical big box malls have failed, but then there's a resurgence in places like the Hanover Crossing and Derby Street that you have what essentially is a mall, but it's walkable if there's outdoor areas. So it's just, while there's still a need, that model of it didn't work. So how do we pivot and still meet the demand?
I think it would really serve a lot of entrepreneurs too in town who might need meeting space to meet client and that sort of thing. So.
Right.
It would help with professionals if you got to meet with if I had to meet with a client in a space, but I didn't want to bring them to my house.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm not doing it consistently enough to rent like an executive office suite yet.
Paid by the hour.
Yeah, well, when you're starting out, you're trying to get your firm account up or something like that.
Right.
A lot of people in my line of work trying to find a space to meet with a client. Years ago, we would meet with them downtown, but that option disappeared. 10, 15 years ago, there wasn't really any place you could sit down and have a conversation. And then those little office space opportunities, there was a friend we decided to team up with, share a space. But all of us ended up, establishing relationships with attorneys and using their conference rooms to meet with clients all over the South Shore. So there's a couple of firms that I go to now because I reciprocate with clients looking for legal services. But the challenge that we had in that was the cost.
Right.
They wanted you to sign up.
Oh, like a membership kind of thing?
Yeah, and it was very daunting to keep it up.
Yeah.
So this was more flexible where,
Across the hall, you want to go across the hall, I think, the planning board meeting?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Hold on. There's two meetings.
historic.
Oh, sorry, they have plans.
They're going to historic. No, but that industry did collapse because it was.
Okay, all right, are you ready to,
Yeah.
so, sorry, I missed the last portion, but, so now we're going to get into the SWOT analysis. You all have the questions, you had them in your packets, and you have them ahead of you, before you. And the intent is, we're gonna walk through these, we don't need to answer every question, but it's just really intended to provoke some thought. So when we think about, we're gonna start and just go through the SWOT, if you will, strengths, what assets and advantages can Plymouth build upon, weaknesses or what internal challenges are limiting economic growth, opportunities, what future possibilities could strengthen Plymouth's economy, and threats, what external factors could undermine economic prosperity. So these are the framing questions, and I have a couple of series or point questions to get for some conversation. Once we finish with this exercise, we can then talk through some prioritization, and some different ways of doing that. So first, we'll start with strengths. So what makes Plymouth uniquely competitive compared to other South Shore and Southeastern Massachusetts communities?
Well, it's unique characteristics. You've got urban, suburban, and rural characteristics in the same community.
With markers. What else?
Just our coastal location, I think, is a strength.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
The, coastal, this number, a harbor. I
Mhm.
mean, we have this harbor, we have this infrastructure.
Our name, people know us, people have heard of us.
Mhm.
People haven't heard of Carver or Kingston necessarily, but they've heard about Plymouth.
Yeah, that's brand recognition. Also our proximity to major cities, to Boston and to Providence
In the Cape.
and in the Cape. I was just thinking like major cities, hubs, kind of.
Yeah.
Like,
But if you notice right now, there's a lot of people in the morning commuting onto the Cape.
right.
And I'm seeing people that are buying on this side of the bridge, but working on the other.
Planning board's over there.
Not
It's not planning board, HTC, that's our district.
What are you looking for? The planning board? Historic district is in the courtroom tonight.
Okay.
There
We
you
did,
go.
we did a little shuffling.
Okay.
Oh,
The planning board's.
It's not Tuesday night.
That's true. It's our workshop night.
Okay.
The planning board is in the Great Hall tonight.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Historic District Commission is
Okay.
in.
All right, one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, you got Providence, you got Boston.
Yeah.
You got this thing, Cape Cod and the Islands now, that's growing in intensity.
yeah, no, absolutely, the proximity to that is, we're like the gateway to the Cape.
Right. Playing heads up ball.
The airport,
A mixed bag.
No, it's definitely an asset. It's the second, what is it, the second largest general aviation airport in the state.
yeah,
So it's there and it's got something. Cracks people. Our extensive ponds and forests and conservation land and trails. The eco side of people visiting Plymouth.
yeah. Ecotourism.
Ponds,
There's
beaches, forests, trails.
there are recognizable neighborhoods of wealthier individuals. If you're talking about businesses, like your Warren Aves, your Pine Hills, your Red Brooks. You don't have to. You can identify where people with certain income that have certain needs are,
Mhm.
income or assets.
The other thing is, in Plymouth, we have a fully functioning downtown in North Plymouth. A hardware store, a post office, a meat market, barber, pharmacy, dry cleaners, you name it, it's got it. I mean, it's downtown Plymouth, no more pharmacy. We've got Reliables and Boston.
Mhm.
And so, downtown North Plymouth, I've had clients come in and they have been attracted to this neighborhood because it's extremely walkable. Because you can walk to a school, you can walk to a pharmacy, you can walk to a grocery store, you can walk to a post office, you can walk to all of these things that are intact there. That little North Plymouth has a potential, because when I'm showing property in Plymouth, I have these people saying, that was really interesting.
We have, the industrial parks, I think are strength, I think we could leverage that. And also, we have a workforce,
What was the last thing you said?
we have a workforce.
Yes.
What about sadly, we have an NDA train track coming into Plymouth. And it's not operational, it's sitting there, it's quite painful to see a train track coming in. But, not to be the guy talking about the past, but that's how it ended up. There was a big discussion, where was the track gonna end up, Kingston and Plymouth, and then we compromised with this, we spur everything going to Kingston. But obviously, public transportation into the city of Boston, whether it's Kingston or Plymouth, I don't know. MBTA, I guess proximity to MBTA would be a strength. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Madam Chairwoman. Wait,
Can we just pause just for a minute?
Sure,
just to-
sorry.
to get-
Here's a copy for you.
Thank you.
And there's the discussion guide that we're following. We went through the background and we will have notes that we can share with that. We're just starting this. So we're talking about what's.
Can I add one more thing to the?
Can I just finish? Sorry, we're talking about the strengths that, of Plymouth in terms of economic development, and that's what Lon's writing.
Right up there now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you just got it just in time. Sorry.
I was just gonna add one more
Sorry
thing.
for being late.
One thing. Oh, under open space and all that, but like scenic views, I mean, there's no other beautiful, I hear people say when they travel around Plymouth, what a breathtaking vistas and views this town has. Where you go Ellisville Harbor, or you're looking out at the Clark's Island, Plymouth has some spectacular views, and I really enjoy that, so I don't know, vistas and views.
I remember Dr. Rushford telling me that he had the privilege of driving by the ocean every day off. I
Yeah,
remember him saying that.
What about, I'm trying to think of some infrastructure that could be considered.
44, we have an intersection of 44-3.
Yeah.
We're close to 495, we're close to 6, close to 25.
495, I-95, and 25, don't they converge in Plymouth?
Yeah, it's either Plymouth or Wareham.
There's no off ramps, but
Yeah, that was the whole reason we did 44. Yes, absolutely. That's what it was all about.
What about assets that are most attractive to businesses considering locating or expanding here?
looks like the same.
I would, depending on the business, I guess, but, I would put workforce under that as well.
Well, a lot of the stuff, like, a lot of the stuff from the first question's answers would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Is there anything else that you would add that we haven't covered already?
I wonder about, do we have what about our tech programs, like our training and education programs? Like I know that, Cape Cod Community College has that aeronautics school, airplane maintenance school.
Yes, yeah.
At the airport, like those kinds of tech programs that could, be a pipeline for some industries.
So we have Cape Cod in Plymouth, do we have Quincy?
We have Quincy and.
Quincy and Cape Cod, so we have a group of people coming to Plymouth and getting degrees, workforce.
Yeah.
We saw it the other night at the graduation.
And they're
getting ready to-
practical degrees too, practical degrees, so.
The only thing there was one other strength I wanted to put in there are, another strength that Plymouth has is we have, museum, world-class museums and historical resources, architectural and cultural.
So I guess if you
What would
wanted,
business do with that?
if you wanted to frame that as an asset for businesses.
I was going with strength, keep going back to strength.
Yeah,
All I
well,
can think of is strength.
But you could frame it as an asset by talking about lifestyle for workforce.
Attractive for.
Hi, how are you?
The historic.
you-
We got the wrong one.
I knew that. It really was a shift all the
Yes.
meetings. Like, you're usually the great on the planning board, usually over here and starts
I
here.
like the confident walk
Just-
in, all the way to the table. and
All right.
Okay, so, yeah, so these strengths as attracting workforce line.
Yeah, so quality of life for the workforce.
And then there's obviously, obviously Jordan Hospital, which is no longer Jordan Hospital. That Israel speaking it. I mean,
Alright,
okay, I could keep going.
which industries are currently thriving and why?
The hospitals.
Yeah.
The-
Social service,
Healthcare,
hospitals and social services,
services.
hospital social services,
Why?
Yeah.
Hospital and like elder care.
elder care, an aging population.
That's because we thought we'd build affordable housing for seniors.
I mean, in the last
20
in the
years.
last
and
10
now-
the last 10 years, we built,
Yeah.
across the hall. They're across the hall. So I would,
Shouldn't close the door.
I think everyone that's here is already here.
they always.
Everyone that's supposed to be here.
Which industries are thriving and why?
Can you lock it?
Just put, this is not your meeting.
This is not. Take an agenda out there.
It's not the meeting you're looking for.
How did you, we're gonna have a spot that, I was thinking in the last 10 years, we built 2 new high schools.
Wow, what economic development successes in the last 5 to 10 years should we build upon?
That's the one.
Well, it's not really an economic development system.
Well,
Building
I mean, we invested in our schools. The
Investment in
school-
our education system.
Yeah, yeah.
But we already, like, from an economic development perspective, we already had 2 high schools. So you've updated them, but you haven't really like.
Very nice, though.
I was in an
Well,
interesting,
right, but outcome wise for the
Yeah.
economy.
there was an interesting discussion at the Economic Development Committee that the chamber holds about the need to expand on our tech programs in the high schools, because there's such a demand for trade workers. But there's so few slots that are available in the tech programs.
Okay.
at the high school, so if you want to talk about,
We're built on that. And the
That would
education.
probably be an opportunity.
oh, that's an opportunity, oh, sorry.
I'm really excited about,
Yeah.
what partnerships, so.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be building on what we've done so far?
No, because we didn't do that in the last 5 to 10 years. That's something we would want to do. That's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Strength would be something you already have.
So that would be, tech industry training programs.
At the high school level.
Okay.
So as
Right over
as an alternative to the app for students, because the trades are really struggling.
Right, okay, yep. Like vocational.
Vocational.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so back to strength, what we build on. I mean, we've invested quite a bit in our museums, in our cultural centers, in our venues. I mean, we've done that in 5 to 10 years. We've, done a lot of work to the local museums, the cultural venue centers, the performance locations. Obviously, we've done a lot of work around that kind of cultural renaissance, economic development stuff in downtown Plymouth. Invested in.
Well, the rezoning of, we rezoned the area across from Colony Place only like in the last 10 years that's been built.
Parking lot,
It was the park and ride.
commuter parking ride, rezoning.
So that would be an example of an underutilized property, it was parking, and then you rezoned it and
Right.
electric.
Right.
I haven't heard of any major economic development successes.
There aren't
You know
many.
what I mean? Like, we attracted a cornerstone company. and
Lost a
built-
power
built-
plant.
Built an industry around it, right? Something like that. That's what I think of when I think of an economic development success, like X came to town and then everything grew around it and it's sparked all these different little.
Well, aquaculture, we didn't have that.
Right.
That's something that policies have created.
Movie venue side. We do get requests for lots of shoots and commercials, not only movies, but commercials. It's like Plymouth does get that.
Tonight's his last.
We've received them, we've got them over the years, should we actually invite to pursue them? Because when you walk around town, you're like, this is a cute little town, I can film something.
What industry?
You just let him go.
He's been shooting the last 3 years. Every summer.
Film and movie industry?
Yeah, but the movie industry. Should have like don't they have one in the state or like?
Yeah, they do.
Well, I think this will be our communications, so we have like the diversity of that. That's what you call it, find out.
Okay. What about if a business owner were advocating for Plymouth, what would they say are our top 3 strengths? You don't have to go out for it. What would our top strengths be?
What would they say our top 3 strengths? I think our location, both, in relation to the cities as well as physical infrastructure, 44, 30, and 3, et cetera, but location.
Okay, can you just repeat what you said? I'm sorry.
Look, a strength, our top 3 strengths, I think location would be one,
Mhm.
both to Boston, Providence, the Cape, but also 44 and 3. I would say our size,
Yeah.
there's 65,000 plus people, so that involves workforce opportunities, customer opportunities, depending on your business.
Mhm.
Could also be a weakness, depending on the nature of your business, but potential strength.
I would add workforce to that as well, just like a ready workforce.
Dickie, any thoughts on, you own a business in town, I'm putting you on the spot. Why Plymouth?
No, I moved here because I love Plymouth.
But if you were a business wanting to come to Plymouth, what would you say?
There's no infrastructure.
But this is a strength.
We'll get to weaknesses.
Well, I'm doing
Yeah.
it.
We're getting to weaknesses.
I'm being honest with you.
We're at the last business owner advocating for Plymouth, what would they say are our strengths?
So we said location, size,
Large population, workforce
Yeah.
and client base, ready workforce. Do we feel comfortable with strengths or ready to move to weaknesses?
Population, I mean, it's a big,
location, size, what's that, workforce?
Ready workforce.
Ready workforce.
Yeah.
I think lifestyle.
Highway access.
Highway.
Yeah, it's part of location.
Yeah, take your travel routes, highway access.
I don't know, I think lifestyle is an attraction for
Yeah.
certain types of employers.
I think the lifestyle of the average Plymouthian is not attractive to most businesses.
Lifestyle.
What do you think? Can you describe what you think is the lifestyle of most?
The
Because
beach,
it's a bedroom community. So if you're trying to get, that makes it harder to open a business in town because you don't have the ability to house your employees here. So they're more likely to leave. and your customer base spend 40 to 60 hours a week outside of the community that your business is in. And then when they come home, they're tired. So like if you're selling pizza and they don't want to cook food, then that can help. But if you're selling designer bags or something you got to go and look at, then that's a weakness.
That's true. I was just thinking for their workforce, if they would.
But I think, because of the way that people can't afford to live and work in the same community, it creates consistent onboarding costs to
This
it.
is what we're gonna solve.
I can also tell you since 1989, every employee I have lives in Plymouth. So I don't buy the can't afford to live here from everybody. Some people can't afford to live here because they don't handle their money properly.
But I think if we can,
I mean, I'm just being honest,
Do we want to move to weaknesses?
let's move to weaknesses and we can always go back.
We can always, yeah, we'll come back.
Yeah, we can go back to that.
You know, I know what you're talking about, because the lifestyle one can live in Plymouth.
Yeah.
People want to prefer to live and work in Plymouth. So people are, a lot of companies relocate because they relocate to a location that's a desirable place for people to live. So
For
they're
their,
trying to
for their
attract
employees,
workers.
so they can attract.
Yeah, but like
And
Kevin
retain
is saying, it's not terribly affordable, so it's hard to attract. But there is a lifestyle here, of boating and hiking and fishing and
Yeah.
outdoors and open space. People are attracted because if you go towards Boston, you start to lose all those amenities.
Well,
You
yeah,
go towards Providence, you lose those amenities.
People-
If you go down the Cape, it gets even more expensive.
but people in Duxbury and Situate boat and hike, it's not a unique characteristic of Plymouth. But, well, these people like going outside their house.
Duxbury is like a movie, everybody has it cheap. But now it's a hurry.
No, I was just saying that, Plymouth is people, when I travel around,
That's where I live, by Blondie's.
when I travel around the area, working with different people, from Boston to as far west as, Middleborough and Easton,
Mhm.
you sit down to the Cape, and I'll say, they're like, where are you from? I'm from Plymouth. Oh, we love Plymouth. We love going to Plymouth. We love visiting Plymouth. So Plymouth is a different, people do seek it out in there. There's a desirability that Plymouth offers. I'm just saying that sometimes that can be leveraged in our favor to attract businesses to set up shop here because we have these resources, population, fun things to do. Go drinking Friday nights.
There's plenty of that.
So we're gonna move to weaknesses, thinking about what internal challenges are limiting economic growth. We'll start with what barriers make it difficult for businesses to start, expand, or remain in Plymouth.
Like zoning and regulation issues.
Right. Yeah.
Permitting process.
Limited zoning options for commercial activity.
I think that's a big one.
Mm,
Zoning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What about, limited infrastructure like with sewer hookups and,
And also road infrastructure. We have a lot of northwest, we have limited rather northwest roads. Lots of east, north-south roads, but
Huge problem.
lots of east-west.
We don't have a lot of east-west roads. We have a north-south road
Yeah, for major.
scenario.
Mhm.
And the infrastructure is built upon that, and now it is being clogged. I don't know if anybody's experiencing this coming into Plymouth. You can be, the traffic, you hear it from everybody in this town now, the traffic is
Well,
relentless.
And a lot of businesses, like the traffic on like Long Pond Road
That area is collapsing.
is a
That's rough.
huge, like, if I'm on lunch break from court going in that area, it can be a parking lot.
If you live here in this town, you know that there's certain times you should go near it and stay away from it. Because from skippies to the skating rink, those lights are create a traffic scenario that's hurting all of those, that's commercial activity, this light
And
industrial.
like Camelot Park, maybe when it was built, it was quicker, easy, like considered easier on and off. But unlike the North Plymouth Industrial Park, like it's kind of off the beaten path at the time. You gotta go through all that traffic to get down.
It also currently does not have sewer.
Right. Which is ironic since the plant's there.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
So why don't they hook up the sewer there?
They've been pursuing a grant application actually the last 2 years. Most recently, they just submitted it, so we're hoping to get that for you.
The cost, right now, the cost would be unaffordable for most businesses to work.
Right, right.
So, because it is something that you wanna spend a lot of time on looking at places like Camelot Park, because there's your light industrial. They're, promoting small businesses that hire people 40 hours a week, to give them a livable wage.
Right.
So this idea of affordability can be met with these types of industrial park, with many versions of them around Plymouth in more locations.
Well, and so the industrial report that we had just really looked at the existing Camelot and Plymouth industrial parks. And for example, specifically Camelot, it's like a chicken and egg scenario, because if you want to invite more development and more opportunity for growth here to stimulate, more users for the sewer offset, but without the sewer, you're limiting the capacity of what can go there. And so we're hopeful to get this grant, but some of the challenges with pursuing grants are like, do you have imminent development potential here? And it's like, well, not yet, because it's a chicken and egg.
Yeah.
That is something that we look at. And also just for both of the industrial parks, something worth noting is that a lot of the uses that are there now had to sort of like shoehorn their way into being allowed use there. They're maybe thriving now, but they had to figure out an alternative pathway where what might be considered a primary function right now was like an accessory use to what was actually allowed to be permitted there. So these are the types of things that that report looks at, where it's like, what uses should we allow? Yeah, so there's a series of recommendations there. It's like, what uses should we allow? Should we, dial back some of the permitting process requirements? Do we need to have some of these uses, or can it be just a simple site plan review? Ways to try to encourage development there and not make it so burdensome to go through from regulatory process. So that is some recommendations that are now just tonight being presented to the planning board. So we may be working on future zoning amendments to unlock some additional potential in the industrial parks. And you'll hear our consultant talk about industrial zones as like an old growth forest. Once you cut it down, you're not gonna rezone industrial anywhere. So it's like, you really wanna maintain what you do have, and it is an asset, because not every community has industrial land. So for manufacturing, warehousing spaces are perfect uses for that, and that is definitely a strength, as we touched upon.
Where do we consistently get concerns from employers and developers and residents or visitors?
I've got one more for the first bullet,
Sure.
just before we jump to that one, just, the lack of public transportation.
Yes.
Did we put traffic up there? We talked a lot about it, right?
We did.
Traffic lights.
Put infrastructure in with the word traffic.
Yes, and we talked about roads, yes,
Yeah,
correct.
after that.
So, I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Lack of public
Well,
transportation.
we put how many units, I did, how many units of housing in Home Depot? Cause the town thought they'd argue with Dave Gilbert.
Is that the oasis that you're referring to?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that didn't help the traffic situation.
So where do we consistently hear
I wasn't
concerns?
there, that actually, when I took out papers, when I saw that,
This can be anything, concerns from employers, developers, residents, visitors.
NIMBY,
What was that?
NIMBY.
Yeah,
Maybe,
lack of affordable housing.
Affordable housing.
NIMBY.
Deed restricted, or houses that people can't afford, like.
Yeah, houses that people can, like workforce housing.
No, Plymouth.
when it comes to residents, what you often hear from them, wow, our town is growing very quickly. In the short time I've been here, I've seen this growth. So, there is a discussion about how we sprawl. I've heard it from a lot of people.
Yeah, at the same time, people want their taxes to be managed in the way we can do that.
Well, people, I mean, related to NIMBY, like people want changes that affect them positively with none of the negative externalities that come from those changes. Like they want to pay us in taxes, meaning they want a more robust commercial tax base, but they don't want to wait for one more minute in traffic.
That is, I mean, that is something that at some point, as policymakers, you need to reckon with, and that's like you and the planning board in terms of zoning as well as all the town meeting members, because for example, the industrial report, we have just a report out, I mentioned what it is, it's going to the planning board just for consideration. We haven't even started talking about zoning changes, and we already have a resident coming forward saying, no more, we don't wanna see anything more, and it's like, if we're not gonna
Right.
unlock capacity in the industrial park, where else are we gonna find opportunity for economic growth? So it's like.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I'm
like,
pretty sure I know who that resident is, but, yeah. I think like that's a huge, like people have this like idyllic picture of like, they want Plymouth to not, the Plymouth as they define it, to not change in any way. But they want positive changes that affect their lives.
right. Well, and it also is, I mean, a frequent thing is like, yeah, we need more affordable housing, but not here.
Correct. I don't wanna look at it, I don't wanna see it, I don't have to drive by it, but we do need it, but not in my area.
Yeah, because suddenly when you want to put it in the neighborhood, you're worried about the impact on schools.
Right, or the aquifer, or all of a sudden they figure out what sand is, like, it's just one of these, it's just like wherever it goes, there's always these huge problems, and it's, nobody wants anything near them to change.
So we could be, consistently concerned here. It's just, those things are all true. We're all observing them and living them, but it's the idea that, yeah, NIMBYs are concerned about growth, but it's the right type of growth, the growth that controls the cost of services, provides jobs. So focusing on zoning that, is revenue driven,
Yes.
you know, like, I mean, I've spoken about this from years ago. There used to be all these studies, Lauren, about cost of services.
I'm listening to you. I'm just looking for a graphic that
Yeah,
discusses this.
there's lots of, there were lots of reports in the late nineties and early 2000s about the cost of services, and we were getting in here and Plymouth, and we were looking at them. And it really kind of a conversation that it disappeared after a while. You never really heard about it anymore. And then we had Shikaki, is that who they were?
Sasaki.
Sakaki came, and they had,
The mushroom, shiitake mushrooms.
yeah, they had a very interesting model where you would take a map and you were like, I want conservation here, I want residential here, I want commercial here, and they would calculate what that cost of services was. That going to be a net positive and net down? Was a very, remember that? Were you there for that little model they had?
Yes.
And then Lee got up and presented it, and then we talked to them about it. I was like, wow, that's a real interesting analysis that you're doing. And then that was a year ago.
Right.
And now I'm thinking, could AI look at these scenarios and do an exercise to tell us if we go with highway commercial, if we go with transitional, if we go with light industrial, if we go with residential, we go with mixed use, as you start to use these different types of zoning, what zoning should we, what should we rezone to?
Right, well, that's a great point, and that is something that we can certainly pursue in terms of the land use evaluation, because we talk a lot about zoning and zoning changes. But to your point, what's the highest and best use of zoning change of type of use? And I just want to point to the graphic behind you. This is something that came from the comprehensive plan talking about the cost of development, and so sprawl has generally a very negative impact, and that's the type of like 3-acre zoning. You have this limited infrastructure, your cost of services, public service response to these areas. Whereas as you look at density, which, has its trade-offs, but density is typically a net positive, in particular when it comes on commercial, office, industrial. These are things that generate a net positive with the lowest impact on services. So while, this comes back to sort of like the NIMBY approach, but if you think about what's going to be the better type of housing that meets our needs and also has a lower impact on services and live sprawl, you're looking at more multifamily, and that doesn't necessarily mean high rise. I'll talk to you next week about missing middle housing. It's everything from townhouses, duplexes, sort of like more clustered together. You know, while we do have some level of that in our zoning right now, it's nowhere near the level of what we might have if we unlock full potential. So I just wanted to make that note for you as we look and think about housing and cost of services. So, where were we? Okay. Are there workforce, I'm sorry. Oh, sure. Okay. Are there workforce shortages or skills gaps affecting local employers?
Well, I think in terms of workforce shortages, I know that others have brought up workforce as an asset, but the fastest growing demographic in the community is people 55 and over, who either, very few people, not everybody, but very few people change careers at that age or change where they work. Many are done working, not at 55, but in a 55 and over demographic. They may be coming here to retire. So, you know, those aren't really adding to the local workforce. And I think we're pricing the next generation of the workforce out of Plymouth. So we have a diminishing pool of workers based on current trends.
I hear a lot about, the lack of trade workers. So your electricians, your plumbers, your, construction workers. Really hard to fill those jobs. The other thing, I don't know if this fits in with workforce shortages, but another area is, our location is a strength, it's also a weakness, and it's a weakness because there are certain industries that draw from, higher ed, you know, like any of the higher tech firms, they don't want to be too far from, the Boston universities, because that's their recruitment pool. So they would have to recruit from there and then convince them to move to Plymouth to work here.
Okay, yeah. The next two questions, I know we have covered a bit, but I just wanted to see if you have anything more to add. Infrastructure deficiencies, creating economic constraints, we already spoke about roads, we spoke about sewer capacity. Electric grid, is that anything that we have concerns about?
I mean, not unique to us, but it is a concern.
I wonder, the cost of utilities are higher for many reasons.
There are some utilities in Plymouth.
Yeah, but I don't know that.
You can look into it though.
You have a lot of new construction, which overemphasizes the use of air conditioning and inefficient cooling methods, as opposed to like older buildings that are built with different materials, use awnings, stuff like that to cool.
That said, though, for now that we're seeing in our state in particular, the energy code.
Yeah.
Embedded in the new building construction.
Right.
It's, a double-edged sword because you're seeing more efficient buildings, but it's also adding to the cost of construction. That's getting that.
Right. Right.
I just remember, there was an engineer here for the town of Plymouth at Sid Cashy that used to always talk about the necessary infrastructure improvements we're gonna have to make in our roads, in our bridges, and our sidewalks, and the village centers throughout Plymouth. That Plymouth is not where it should be when it comes to infrastructural upgrades and improvements across the town of Plymouth. So he was, I would just remember that conversation has come up a number of times.
Well, Route 3 has a bad reputation in terms of the major roads in the Commonwealth as it being a significant traffic issue.
Mhm.
So it may deter folks from coming here at certain times. Like summers, Thursdays, Fridays, don't wanna, even though we're not the Cape, you gotta go through us to get, and instead it cuts off like half the town.
Something happens on the highway, it's dumped onto.
Right, but also people would just avoid us, like they would go to a business elsewhere to not get stuck in that traffic.
And it's interesting because when you come down out of Boston, you make it through the Braintree split, you go through the Derby squeeze, and then things lighten up at Hanover. And then it starts to pile up again,
Like
and exit 10 and 11.
Yeah.
And as you start to barrel into Plymouth, you see this new traffic jam. And it's interesting, if you spend time I like to go on my phone and look at, okay, it's rush hour, where are my red spots? And you'll see Braintree split in Plymouth. And then Providence.
Yeah.
And maybe you might see some, depending on the time of the year, backing up on the bridge. But Plymouth has this infrastructural issue.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to, we've had parts of Plymouth bridges that have been shut down and streets that I don't, right now, there's always like some bridge in Plymouth being worked on that you can't cross. Like right now, it's the River Street Bridge. But 10 years before that, it was the Hill River Bridge. And, so there was Brook Road Bridge.
Right, well, and some of it's funding, it's like how you.
Well, yeah, because bridges, we usually use external funds, and America's infrastructure is crumbling around us
Right.
on a national level.
Right. So it's a miniature version of it, yeah.
Right.
We're also not a walkable, we be car dependent in general, so we're not a walkable town, we're not a bikeable town. The only way we can really get reliably from one part of town to the next is if you jump in your car, which is a problem, that we don't have a lot of connectivity between villages and between downtown areas and neighborhoods. And, so I think that's also a deficiency.
And like EV charging, we're expanding that, but
Right.
as that becomes an increasingly popular method of charging one's vehicles, since we are a car dependent culture nationally.
My king was gonna be really happy you said that.
Gonna put cars on fire, that's the new thing.
But that's
What was that?
They're all catching on fire, so they need to do a little more work.
I was up at Old Town yesterday.
Trouble with that.
I was up at Old Town at 1, 2 o'clock yesterday, and all of the stations were plugged in.
Yeah,
That thing's getting.
yeah, because there's a
Person to blame.
bottleneck of them.
Yeah, there was a guy waiting to get charged.
Yeah, and there's some like downtown, there's some near here, but I think there's fewer of them than there could be.
Yeah.
All right, I wanna keep us on
Okay.
time, so any thoughts on where we lag behind peer communities, or do we wanna jump to opportunities?
Municipal, where we lag behind other towns? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Well, I mean, we always hear that it's easier to do business in other towns, so
Why is
I
that?
don't know.
I think it has to do with the prior question, which we've already answered in
Right, right.
a prior question.
Yeah, okay.
What would be a peer town?
We were talking like South Shore.
Any town in the South
It
Shore?
could be a neighboring town, it could be, New Bedford, whatever you're thinking in terms of industry.
South Coast.
Like who's Plymouth's competitor?
Well, it really does depend on what you're focusing on, because are you focusing on land area, type of government structure? Are you talking about the fishing industry? That rules in a lot.
I think Duxbury is a heavy hitter in that regard.
In
Like,
terms of aquaculture.
and a lot of the things that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Not so, like, they have a lot of advantages with their condensed geography. They're able to leverage they have higher value residential. So their tax base is just very different. They have resources that we don't have. And much of that is structural. And like Hingham has some similar advantages and affluence that we have that, but we're also have a lot of like working class people that are consuming more services than they pay for, like my family when I was growing up, so.
But Hingham also has some really interesting commercial zones, the Derby Street area, all of the car
In the
dealerships.
harbor area, the old
area.
river.
There's a town that's Yeah, I think it was like a microcosm of the South Shore. They got everything from cohesive living to average person living. So Plymouth, the thing about Plymouth, is its size though. It's so hard to find a peer size, a town the same size, that the thing that, we lag behind is, ability to, manage those events that come with a big town, area-wise. We're so big area-wise, and they're so small area-wise. I don't know, what is that?
England's also been able to, leverage their shipyard, and we've got that whole
Yeah.
economic development center in the
Right.
shipyard.
Right.
We don't really have anything like that unless we look at our industrial park areas. We don't have.
Right, I mean, we have Cordage Park.
Yeah, which is not anything like
Not
the
shipyard,
shipyard.
no.
I mean, the way they've utilized the shipyard is a lot better than,
That was planned.
yeah.
It's like what they did with.
Like Raz doesn't have a lot on
Dennis.
like those places,
Right.
sadly.
All right, let's move to opportunities. What emerging industries or market trends align with Plymouth's strengths? And I know we're talking about opportunities here, but I also want you to think about, are there things that are emerging that you do not want to see in Plymouth? And an example I will give you is data centers.
Yeah,
We're seeing data centers on the rise.
yeah, I don't think they're good. I think that, you know, nationally, like tech and AI is a huge bubble that's just gonna burst. So I think, and the resources that they consume, people like them because they're low traffic and high taxes, but I think they're a net negative based on their environmental impact and the fact that they're part of an over leveraged national and international industry.
So you have data centers, then you have battery storage, they're two different things.
Yes.
Battery, do you want to add battery storage so they do not?
I mean, battery storage, I'm more middling on. I would like to see battery tech advance before we start popping a bunch of batteries that are gonna last for decades, that are gonna be improved upon.
Are we gonna
dramatically.
actually get professional opinions on this stuff, or are we just talking?
We're just talking for now.
No, but I mean, after this, I mean, cause his opinion might be different than my opinion and your opinion and her opinion. So are we just writing things down and we're gonna, well, that's not a good idea. I mean, I wanna not just put the idea there, I wanna get answers.
This is part one, right, and then we're.
But I mean, eventually, is that what it's gonna come
Yes,
to?
yes, we want to aggregate the consensus of the board. If there's industries that you may be interested in, then we'll spend the time and resources to find out more about them. But if you collectively say, I don't want to see X industry, then we know that we need to do the research as to back up that information. And also, let's change zoning then if it's needed to prohibit that use. Because, you know, once the horse is off the barn, you can't put it back in.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's where.
So to continue on this trend of, data centers,
Nuclear power plant?
yeah, energy, the other third one's gonna be about energy production.
Right.
Well, I would like to find out, that's why I'm asking the
Need more
question.
information.
21st century energy.
It's very controversial, but
But that would be something that we would put under which trends align with Plymouth's strengths. The
well, I mean,
yeah,
that's just.
SMRs, yeah.
Well,
We would all put
Data
that.
centers, SMRs, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
I think that's something we should definitely explore.
Do you want more info on all of these really?
Yes, I think all of these are gonna require, an education to see what one we pursue.
I mean, based on what I know
Well-
about data centers, I don't think they align with.
Plymouth,
What we know about data centers so far, it's not good.
I mean, there's a market trend in Plymouth of an aging population, which is gonna bring about additional healthcare needs which we could leverage to grow our existing relationship with current major healthcare provider as well as to attract others. So, and that's something that's timely as that generation ages and eventually sheds the coil, so to speak, but that's something that we can take advantage of in the medium term.
What about the 100 acres that the county just leased to, Boston Salt extended it, I guess, for another year?
Boston South, So that would be the woodlot with the county?
That's it, yeah, they got a year extension on it. What happens on that lot's really gonna
That would be,
impact Long Pond a lot.
That can fit really nicely into that third bullet.
Other underutilized site districts that can support redevelopment.
And it abuts for our sewers,
Are you adding,
I don't know why I'm putting it as well, but
that's okay.
so what did you wanna say, the woodlot, the county?
well, we know that in Camelot, and we know that the North Plymouth lot, West Plymouth Industrial Park, whatever. It's pretty much full. So where is the next? Not in my backyard. But we have 100 acres that's adjoining Camelot,
It was, we were at a meeting,
minus the traffic, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
we were at a meeting last night in Cedarville.
Mhm.
Yes,
We were,
We
We were-
remember.
I was looking at the map and I was like, I started sketching on top of the map what Cedarville it should look like. But it's not, it doesn't look like that. I was just trying to reconfigure the roads because it's a missed opportunity. As you bomb into the little village, could you have some traffic calming features beyond the rotaries to slow down traffic, to get people to shop and stop as they make their way through the village? And it reminds me of like Long Pond Road. Long Pond Road is a problem right now. It is, the intersections are failing, the congestion, the traffic, but there is an opportunity there. And if you're staring over there at the woodlot and the county's doing these things that might lead to something that happens there, we might find ourselves in a situation where we're trying to enhance the county woodlot's capability by reconfiguring the roads that go into this area. Because just having a Long Pond Road
A loop
as the
road.
spine of economic development right now that's what they referred to it 25 years ago at town meeting when we rezoned it highway commercial. It's a spine of economic development, but that spine is now a spinal tap. And now we should kind of back away from it and look at what we could do infrastructurally on Long Pond Road to get traffic to flow through that area in a more productive way, so people could go off and do businesses and people could move through that area. So who knows what's gonna happen at the woodlot, with what might happen there, because that's a large acreage. And so I'm just thinking of, even though we've mentioned Long Pond Road as a negative, it might be an opportunity to rethink how people move through this area so that we can have better economic development.
Yeah, that's great. Before we leave the emerging industries, we should add, blue economy, aquaculture, ecotourism.
yes, we heard a lot about that in the old town.
yes, the mountain bike people,
Yes. Well,
very
there are
passionate.
other things too.
Yeah, but the
I don't know
mountain
what
bike
they, I
people,
don't know what they are, but they're.
mountain bike people were very uniquely interested in that parcel.
They have a whole business plan for that.
We jumped over leveraging tourism to generate more year-round economy. Do you have thoughts on that?
Well, I think, personally, I think that other than ecotourism maybe being a better emphasis, the rest of tourism kind of is what it is.
What about hotels? Do we feel like we have enough? Do we want to see more hotels in different locations?
Well, we're already getting a couple more, whether we want it or not. So, I mean, I personally think we have enough currently.
I
Are we
think
gonna get a hotel?
the boutique.
You know, Rick
hotels-
Mayo's building some boutique hotels.
Oh, right now under construction.
Yeah, yeah.
The boutique hotel.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a market for the boutique hotels. I think that could help make Plymouth a destination. I just think about the way I like to travel. And I would travel someplace if there was a real, just for the hotel experience.
Something in between the big hotel and the Airbnb,
Yeah,
or the short-term rental, the mixed-use boutique hotel.
yeah, something cool that was in a cool location.
Yeah.
I think that has appeal to a certain type of person
Promote,
that likes to travel.
I think we need more of those.
Are there any more underutilized sites or districts that you want to highlight?
Well, yeah,
Focus plan.
I think the existing industrial parks, North Plymouth and Camelot,
Mhm.
Sure.
and Cottage Park, while you're up there. Cottage Park, when I was a kid, was a lot more economically dynamic.
What would you like to see at Portage Park?
Well, if I could wave a magic wand and turn it into the Hingham Shipyard, but that might be a little ambitious, but it's just a weird hodge, like there's completely unutilized buildings in Cottage Park
Right.
in the back.
Portage Park has 40R zoning that was, I forget how many years old it is now, but
Yeah.
there was supposed to be another phase of the large, like the H and L shaped apartment complexes.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be another phase closer to the water on the other side of the train tracks. They're hitting sort of some challenges with their state required waterfront permitting. And so I would have to check in with them again to see where they left off, but before Lee Arden had retired, they had sort of had to go back to the drawing board, what they were proposing there. But if the zoning that is in place there doesn't work, doesn't unlock that potential, I think this is an opportunity to take a look at what, knowing that there has to be water dependent uses there, but like between commercial and blue economy sector, as well as, you know, some retail shopping potential like Derby Street, what can we see there?
By the way, there's a major pier there with a deep channel. So it's deeper than Plymouth. So the channel that feeds Cottage Park was built for huge ships taking rope out of there. So there's a major pier that has steamships pulling up to it in the 1930s and 40s and 50s. And so there's a huge capability with that pier. And I've heard people talk about boats leaving Plymouth for tourism around the Cape or going back to Boston. So there's been a lot of talk about that. So that might be an opportunity to shortfront of Cottage.
Yeah, that is a good point. I have heard that there may be concerns with the dredging potential there
Yeah.
because of contamination, so that would be.
And it hasn't.
You're very correct.
Does it need it? Does it? I thought it didn't need dredging because it was pretty.
I'd like to, actually,
It hasn't been used.
find out what, how
Yeah,
much
even now
damage,
being used a long
I
time.
don't know the word I'm looking for. What the site actually consists of, as we know, as the state knows of it, how much contamination is actually in that harbor, around that harbor, because I believe it's a lot.
Alright, some more information.
Some of our old tenants out there, Mid-Cape Fish, and a few Aljovenellas back in the day, just dump things everywhere. Yeah, it was a big cigar. He did a lot of damage. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so, but my understanding was that we didn't have to dredge there because the channel is quite deep right now. Even today, those maps show 15 feet.
And I was just told with hearsay, nobody from the state certified that they wouldn't touch it because there's a lot of stuff buried there. And the minute that they did, it would kill everything from here to Duxbury.
Well, that seems like.
I mean, I don't know how true it is, but that's why I'm asking Lauren a question. I'm
The
asking-
potential, look into it, find out if we can do it.
Exactly.
That should be a question. Lauren, before we lose the second bullet, I think, making it easier for tourists to get here, just picking up on the theme of having a ferry coming from. Boston.
Commuter boat, very,
Commuter boats and that.
tourist boats, commuter boats.
Yeah.
We have
Make it easier.
we have a new pier in the harbor right now. How many boats a week are we getting there? Was American Cruises or something?
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, they're coming in pretty regularly, aren't they, Derek?
They have the high 39 stops this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, they max out at 50 stops per year. That's the contract.
So maximize, what is that, the opportunity of maximizing the new wharf in Plymouth?
The new wharf, did you mean Portage Park?
No, here in the
Yeah,
downtown, you know, now switching to Plymouth Harbor, we got this new wharf. It's supporting these boats and the fishing industry, so.
Whole pack site, I know we've discussed this, there's been a whole planning initiative around this. There's that existing powerhouse road. What might you want to see there if the opportunity ever comes up? Is that an opportunity that you want to focus? Commercial, industrial, biotech space, what, you know?
I mean, I would like to see like earth sciences or educational, like a Woods Hole North type. If I were waving a magic wand or something like that.
I mean, you were earlier saying like, these ideas that we have, where are they going? I mean, we do have that plan that we just did with, I'm not gonna say the name wrong again for the third time.
Sasaki.
Sasaki, they had different options.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to put that plan as part of this discussion, that opportunity, the opportunity we have here is taking advantage of what they're advising us at that site. Because there was talk about what you said, environmental technology, energy production, but they also talked about a significant amount of conservation, which I'm in favor of.
Right. Okay, so
Conservation.
we need to work more on revisiting the stock plan, how we take next steps from there. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So partnerships.
Partnerships with regional organizations, educational institutions, or employers, are there any new ones that we create? We already said building on tech industry training at high school level, vocational skills.
I think if we wanted to pursue the blue economy, there are any number of educational institutions that we could partner with. You mentioned Woods Hole, Kevin, I don't know if there's some opportunities there to partner with them.
Well,
Mass Maritime.
there are a lot of higher educational institutions in Massachusetts, and some of them, like I went to Northeastern, and they don't just have the campus on Huntington Avenue. They also have satellite campuses elsewhere in New England as well as around the world. And they're not the only higher educational institute up in Boston and Cambridge, et cetera, that does stuff like that. So trying to attract a satellite campus or a local campus of a existing 4-year degree institution.
And it could be like a niche, satellite, so they could put their, blue economy, whatever.
Yeah.
Degrees you need to support that industry.
Right, or it could be like a UMass Plymouth or something, or, something like that. Something that we could, depending on who it is and what their needs are, but I think that there are opportunities.
That would be a huge windfall if we were able to attract an institution of higher learning here in Plymouth to have a campus. So one of the two highest forms of economic development are hospitals and universities. The cost of services are limited and the benefit is huge. So if we were to ever, like you say, attract, we've got all these universities in Boston, and it's becoming more and more expensive to live in Boston. Is it viable? Maybe these colleges want to invest in a campus outside of Boston where there's a population looking to be educated. And so pursuing a higher learning institution for Plymouth would be great.
I like that idea. I like it focused on, if it was focused on an industry that we were interested in targeting, that might be a good draw for them. Then we have a workforce, we'd be developing a workforce in the pipeline. Or other businesses that would want.
And businesses pop up to support higher education.
Right,
institutes
exactly.
As well,
So, yeah,
Coastal, bio.
if one of the weaknesses is that we're too far away from their pipeline, then bring the pipeline
Right.
here.
Right, go to the Earth Science campus or the.
Yeah.
Blue economy.
It's ocean, blue economy.
You don't want to be
One
doing that
time-
in Boston Harbor.
At one time, there was a proposal for Edge Road to be developed into an educational institution focused on marine technology.
Yeah.
But at one time that was floated years and years ago. It's actually a front page story in the Old Colony that it was being explored for this possibility, but that might attract those institutions in Plymouth to Plymouth because of what we have.
I mean, we just have so many interesting ecosystems to support environmental sciences kind of programs or, that could be.
Okay, well,
All right, great. We're moving along. What would be the biggest positive economic impact if accomplished in the next 5 years?
biggest accomplishment in the next 5 years. Looking at our current zoning bylaws and trying to update them to zoning bylaws updating to create this
We're
To streamline the
Yeah.
permanent.
working on the Edward site land is, height restriction. We have a big hole there, we could go right up and there's no neighbors, or said it at town meeting a few years ago.
Which parcel is that?
The land is, out where Costco's looking to go.
Height restriction.
Yes, because we have the depth there, they've already, dug it out, disrupted it. And, you go way over 35 feet there and never see it from my house. So there's another reason they put 44 there.
The zoning updates I wanna focus on are, upgrades to zoning, which limit the cost of services, but strengthen our local economy with things like light industrial. Light industrial is something that I keep gravitating to because the math shows that it brings in revenue, provides an environment for young people to find jobs. And, so zoning changes to strengthen our local economy, light industrial.
I think
And
figuring out what we're gonna do with Memorial Hall. That is completed, I think that's gonna have huge economic impact on our downtown area.
Finding land in Plymouth that could be rezoned for these upgraded zoning economic possibilities. So, I'd see, we have to find, right now, we keep talking about how limited our commercial land is. And what limited commercial,
Land is like 49 acres, right?
so with limited commercial land, we should be focused on upgrading it to zoning that is beneficial to the town, but we should also be looking for more land that could be rezoned for these higher zoned economic purposes.
But, that's a great point. I mean, the Woodline is a great example of managed zoning, right? That's mostly residential zoning.
Right. Yes.
That's why I brought it up. You have to keep an eye on
Yeah, for sure. I think we need to have a recruitment plan, or just to be able to target the in-industry work, just get really focused on it.
The funding was not.
On the terms of the improvement plan, like marketing, because we've discussed this before. Right now, if someone wants to come in town and they say, I want to move my business to Plymouth, like, where do I go? We're like, gee, I don't know, contact a real estate agent. Whereas if we had, whether it's partnership with the foundation or some way to have a more streamlined marketing strategy. To say, we want to see this type of industry, here's your options.
This is exactly what I've been talking about.
Yeah.
You just said, I was waiting to get to it, but
This is,
there's nobody promoting, soliciting businesses to come here. Somebody comes here, they know there's a parcel, they might get a hold of Bill Sims, and that's as far as it goes. Scotty's got different people knocking on his door. Scotty Spencer needs somebody to bring these people together, and I don't know if it is the foundation, to be honest with you. That's why I always talked about business development office here in town,
Yeah,
because I think we always had an economic development director.
and this is why we're doing this.
Right, no, but she just brought up something and I'm just
No,
touching on
But
it.
you're right, but that's just because we do need that, that's a big gap, that's a gap that the marketing and recruitment, and just courting potential employers in general. So the goal here is to put this together, identify what our priorities are, go to the foundation and say, what can you help us with? And where are the gaps that we need to fill in ourselves? So you're exactly right.
Well, I mean,
I'm eager.
I know why the foundation was created, I see it was created. I think it was under Al Burke, I could be wrong.
Okay,
So then we should be looking at considering bringing economic development in-house.
I just put that bullet point, I predicted that.
Because I was hearing Dicky and I want to strengthen
It
that.
is dire to have an in-town health point person for this.
Because when I moved, you asked me why I moved to Plymouth, I remember when I did move to Plymouth, and I still have it. I have a card from Michael Gallerani, and he actually took me to the industrial park and showed me 3 lots. One which I bought, the family bought, and, you know, it just, so it does, you know, I called, you had an office, I called, and,
You walk into town hall, and there it was.
yeah.
I wanna jump back to this, the partnership thing, just
Yeah.
putting in the county and the state, we should be doing everything we can. I mean, if you look at David Gould, and his relationship that he has established with the state,
Yeah,
it has benefited the towns very well. So we just need to focus on developing relationships with the county government and the state government.
and what about,
We do a great job working with our state delegation, but when I think about economic development, we should be partnering with, entities of that nature.
and what about mass development, are they still a force? Cause they have a lot of programs and partnerships and grants, right?
Yeah.
You know, developing, you know, a site, they'd help us,
They also have a mass office of business development,
right,
so,
that's why I'm bringing it up too, yeah.
okay. Great,
Here's the last thing.
last question here, and we'll go to threats. If funding were not a constraint, what transformative project would most improve Flynn's economic future? You wave your magic wand.
Wave magic wand.
Well, how high in the sky do you wanna get?
Go for it. Shoot for the moon, we'll see what we can do.
We need a Marshall Plan for Plymouth. If funding were not a constraint, we would need to build extensive new housing opportunities throughout the community. Like we did after we destroyed all the housing in Europe. That would solve, because I think so many of our challenges structurally are the fact that people can't afford to live here. And if you had more affordable housing, more attainable housing options, then you'd have a workforce that can live and work in the same community, you'd grow an economic base, it'd be more self-sustaining, but getting that seed funding would be, and then somewhat related, but could be extricated from that, would be as much as possible, a town-wide sewer system.
I was thinking that myself.
Whether that means one giant one, which seems probably impractical, or regional ones.
If Falmouth did it,
Yeah.
you have to go, Falmouth.
For that resource.
So, if there wasn't any constraints, I see the importance of economic development and all the things we're talking about, the strengths, the weaknesses, the zoning, building a local sustainable economy and trying to drive down the cost of services. But there's the thing that I've always gravitated to, not because I know anything about the environment. I just know that it's a resource, it's diminishing rapidly in Plymouth, and I see the quality of life diminishing, so that was my gravitation to conservation and preservation. I do believe if there was no constraints, I would have the fund available to buy open space and protect that open space. I think that there has to be a balance between all of these things we're talking about, but a commitment to protect our sole source water aquifer, the habitat, all the things that make Plymouth really interesting to people. We've been talking about what drives people to Plymouth, and if we keep going in the direction we're going, and we're not very strategic in how we use our land for zoning purposes to build an economy, if we continue this intense sprawl and traffic, it just diminishes things. So it's just something if I had all the money in the world, I sometimes think about the things I would have bought with it in terms of preservation.
You know, I'm gonna ask you, we always talk about affordable housing and nobody can afford it. Maybe we're doing it all wrong. I sit and I think about this all the time. If it were up to me and the sole person that made a decision, I'm not gonna support any more community preservation money to go to any builders. I don't even wanna hear it. I'm gonna be honest with you and I'm gonna say it. It doesn't work right. It's too much money. Why don't we do this? We'd be better off if we took $5 million and bought, I don't know how many houses, went out, if they're 500,000, even 600,000, and put 300,000 on each house.
That's what
Okay,
Joe,
now you've made an affordable house for a family that they can move in and have a deed restriction, and if they wanna sell it and take the gain, fine. But the original $300,000 investment stays with that house. Why can't we do that?
that's the same.
Just think of how many houses and how many people everybody talks about it, why don't we do it?
So we had that conversation 20 years ago with Joan Pimental in the room, saying
Yeah.
to us, let's go,
Yeah.
and use this money to buy down condos in Springhill Apartments, because they were
Yeah.
falling, there were apartments there that were falling out of affordable and going to market. And she was advocating that we go in there and buy those units and do these condo buy downs. But we eventually gravitated to Cherry Hill 1 and 2. But the whole thing is, these other partnerships, I think we have two sleeping giants in Plymouth. That's the Plymouth Redevelopment Authority and the Plymouth Housing Authority. There are two entities out there with unique powers to build affordable housing. And they have just been like comatose now for 25, 35 years. Other than Joan Pimental and the work that she did with the Housing Authority to build units, we don't see anything happening after 2005.
Well, yeah, let's do something. If we take $1 million and put 250 on all these houses, deed restrict them, then put whatever people you want in there.
Yeah.
If you want town employees, firefighters, school teachers, whatever, they wanna move on, fine. But that original 250 stays with that house, it'll always be affordable.
Lauren, can you capture that?
I mean-
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
fine deed restrict.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, deed restrictions, I agree, because I don't think,
Putting it in the thing,
Right,
you still got
you have an existing house or- you can do it when they're building, like if they're building 10 units and they're only gonna make one affordable, you could say, well, we'll give you another 200,000, we'll buy another one. So then there's two, right? And if they're building it anyways, and they wanna sell it, you're buying a part of it and it runs with it. That's the more bang for your buck, because the public building of affordable housing is incredibly expensive and the return on investment is very limited, but buying deed restrictions on an existing house or a new construction before it's sold is the way to make your.
I mean, I've been around a long time, and I've seen this all the time, and I hear Kevin every night. You're not wrong. So I say to myself, maybe we're doing it wrong.
No,
There has to be a different, I mean, if we took $2 million and we put 300,000 on each house, that was 500,000 to 600,000, it's definitely affordable. So why aren't we doing it? Why don't we be first for once instead of being last?
Let's explore it. Let's put it as a priority.
Well, I mean, we need to have more discussion, but.
But looking into it.
Yeah.
So do we get that in it? I know, we have a housing authority here in Plymouth. We have a redevelopment authority.
Yeah.
These are entities with unique powers to build housing, but obviously, they've been under neglect for 35 years. They haven't been properly funded. The argument is that they can't do it efficiently, but I don't want to give up on something. If it's not doing it efficiently, how do we make it efficiently? Because they do have these unique powers. A nonprofit housing authority can take the money and reinvest it and do these. There are things it can do. I just don't want to write off the housing authority. I think we need to focus on that.
You need to go
opportunity.
You need to go to Beacon Hill and change prevailing wage laws if you want to make them.
Because you gotta bring the state and federal
Yeah, but-
monies in.
There's nothing.
Then that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, but I would agree that the deed restriction and buying that down, either on market houses and.
Buy 10 of them a year or something.
Right, or with new construction, doing that and expanding the affordable offerings, that's the way to get there quicker.
And that, this is a great conversation for the discussion you'll have with us next week on the SHI strategy. What we might be able to do once we reach that.
Right, and I mean, to that point, when you talk about deed restrictions, like, you don't necessarily have to do 80% area median income, if you're not.
Right.
SHI eligible homes, then we can talk about workforce housing, 100%, 110%. These are, there's a model, I think it's in Wayman, of an apartment complex that has a mixed market rate, workforce and affordable. But those numbers don't get your SHI, so once we solve the SHI, then we get.
Right. I think phase one is SHI, phase two is buying down to make it more real, truly affordable.
Right.
No, that's a great idea.
Just one thing, I wanna get here, the only thing Mr. Cochran, we can talk more about it next week, you need to restrict the house and limit the resale value on it, so people who purchase an affordable home are maxed out at what they can sell that, so there's no
equity building potential there, so just. to keep in mind.
It's kind of like the Habitat for Humanity model.
Yes, it's like they're sort of stuck in this model, they don't get to purchase a home at market rate for $400,000, and then in a few years, oh, look, we made a windfall, that just is not
So
possible.
they get to keep some of the,
It's only about 5% of.
yeah, so that, I mean, but it's better than paying someone else, like paying rent,
Right,
paying your landlord.
Before,
Right, you're paying your landlord's mortgage,
right,
right, so it's better than that.
of course, yeah, just to consider. All right, threats, and then we're ready to do some talking about next steps.
Okay.
Again, external factors, thank you. Underlying economic prosperity. What trends concern you most over the next decade? And I'll combine these two. What industries are vulnerable to decline or disruption?
I think macroeconomic trends, the world is getting more hostile, more expensive, and worse. And that is gonna flow into local municipality and municipal issues as well as on the larger stage.
We've seen it already.
Right.
Yes.
When climate change starts driving people away from the code,
it did drop away.
it'll be a bit of
I
a
only
problem.
noticed it because that's a big part of my business. Only, it's really quite economic. Anything to improve.
You know, this is, well, but yeah, I guess it's just a you know, very elevated concern about, the high cost of bringing services to Plymouth. Energy, high cost of bringing services to Plymouth, causing affordability problems there. So we need to, you know, kind of like rely on ourselves more as a community to bring goods and services to the residents.
I mean, interest rates are a concern right now. That's, I mean, if they could come down, but I know that that's delaying a lot of construction and, business growth. Expansion.
Lack of, you know, consistent low inventory and, available, housing, rental in commercial space.
Okay. Any industries that are vulnerable to decline or disruption?
Yeah, tourism.
I was just gonna say that. Tourism, food industry, restaurants,
Yeah, retail,
retail.
but mostly tourism and food.
So many of the major retailers that we discussed as part of our comment right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the existing base. Like, we would have been a gateway city if we weren't a tourism hub after Cordage left,
Mhm.
you know, because it would have been a gateway city after Cordage left if it wasn't for tourism.
Right.
The tourism kept us above that.
Yeah.
Unlike your Brocktons, your Lowells, your Lawrences, where when their mill industry left, that was it.
Competitive threats that neighboring communities pose.
They're easy to do business with.
What competitive threats do neighboring communities pose?
And now, do we know that they are, or is this a perception?
Well, I mean, we are sort of like the many-headed beast, and like a Duxbury can focus on doing one or two things really well.
Okay.
But we are huge, and we have to deal with urban, suburban, rural concerns, in a way that a Hingham, a Duxbury doesn't have to, or going the other way, like a Plimpton doesn't have to. A sleepy, quiet little small town.
Oh, it's country. Remember him?
Yeah, it goes back to
Joe,
that, it goes back to that idea, we're so big. That,
Yeah.
you know, we're not like, we're kind of a microcosm of the country. We have high-end housing, we have people struggling on a daily basis, we have homeless people, we have people trying to, you know, Plymouth is, you know, there's 77,000 people there. 67,280 people. I mean, we're pushing 70,000 people in Plymouth. So with that comes, a lot of the demands, you know, large largest population in southeastern Massachusetts, next to New Bedford and Fall River. Brockton.
Okay. What environmental or infrastructure risks could impact entire development? I think we've covered this already.
Yeah, we've got that.
Yeah.
Covered.
Are there state or federal policy changes that can negatively affect Plymouth? We don't need to spend too much time on this one because this could be a little bit like sky is falling. What can we do on a local level, but is there anything that you want to know?
Well,
Down. So
I mean, the erosion of democratic norms and is making the United States a lot less attractive to international travelers and as well as less stable for investors. So that could definitely affect us.
Where, how do you? How do you like the first one? Determining it internationally.
I don't think somebody from the federal government's gonna come down and look
Just
at it.
put, because we have a clown in the light on.
I think we're.
I think we're safe.
That's right. We have a clown in the light on.
What factors could discourage young families, workers, or employers from choosing Plymouth? Of course, we've spoken about housing already.
Yeah.
Yeah, cost. And cost more broadly.
Cost of living. Housing availability. What about, like, do we have sufficient daycares for people who are, is that something that the community?
No, but nobody really does.
No, I know. but-
So I don't think we're any worse off.
Okay. What risks would be most costly if we failed to address them now?
As a town, presumably.
Yeah.
Well, the infrastructural improvements of the town,
What kind of infrastructure?
well, infrastructural improvements to move people around Plymouth, but also infrastructural improvements around fire and police and schools. These are our greatest responsibilities. We are gonna be looking at having to build a school and build fire and police
You
stations.
heard him in Cedarville last night, they want to move the school down there.
I think we keep bringing it up, but housing. I mean, as I said last night and previous nights, like a generation of Plymouth is being priced out of here. And by the time we're ready to fix it, it will be too late.
Yeah.
And that will be very costly to those folks. You're gonna have a town like when the people the retirees that retired into Pine Hills and Redbrook, when they die, it's just gonna be other retirees buying their houses.
Right, mortality, that's the right word.
It's not like the next generation of Plymouth isn't gonna be, we're gonna be the place that people retire to.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's great.
Right. I mean, you see a lot of Cape communities have,
Right.
already like, it's either seasonal tourism and then they're retired communities. And
Right.
it's a lot.
Right. That's not,
Challenges that come.
it's not sustainable.
Would that be one of the things if we like healthcare or retirement caps, stuff like that, would that be all right to put there or no, not today?
You mean healthcare benefits or healthcare?
Healthcare costs,
Like
control,
municipal
Okay,
costs.
healthcare and retirement. When I say retirement, capping off salaries, yeah.
in the
Done the right way properly, I mean, I wouldn't bring it up under new business, but.
Just add to that in the form of higher taxes. I mean, that's the big threat in
What did you
Plymouth.
say?
Adding to that, just in the form of higher taxes, that's what the big threat in Plymouth with everybody is saying, is that it's harder and harder to.
It's actually a budget bust, it makes that budget to take right now. I'm seeing,
Oh, we got that captured then.
that'll be the next show.
Anything else to add to the list before
No.
we think about next week's?
Well, we'll have a chance to look at this again and add to
I
it.
will compile this into a document that isn't chicken scratch.
And then, David will have an opportunity to.
Yes.
say-
Yes, of course.
So, it's 8:14 now. I just want to run through the list of prioritization questions. We can tackle these at the next opportunity once you've had time to get some feedback. But as you walk away, think about which strengths we should invest in most aggressively, which weaknesses are the biggest obstacle to economic growth, which opportunity offers the greatest return on public investment, which threat requires immediate action. The thought of all of this is we want to create an actual tangible work plan. So to your point, where do we need more information? What do we want to accomplish? Then Derek and I can work with town staff on what can we do in-house? Where do we need partnerships? What can we partner with the foundation to do? Where do we maybe need a consultant? Like we can create some actionable roadmap here, but just looking for your feedback. Other questions, these are all on the back of your sheet, is what are the top 3 economic development priorities for the next 3 to 5 years? So thinking, what can we do immediately? What can we do in the mid-range? And then we can think longer, further out. What can we realistically influence and what would require partnerships with regions or, whether it's OCPC or the state? We discussed a couple of things at the state. And then if we could only pursue one major initiative, what would have the greatest impact on Plymouth's economy? So again, just let that simmer. I'll type this up. We'll figure out how soon you want to reconvene for part 2.
What do you guys think in terms of reconvening? I think we have the momentum going, I don't want to wait too long.
Jump on that momentum. It's fine a date in the very near future.
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, can you pull us together?
Early to mid-July.
After the 4th, please.
Oh, yeah.
We're here on the 3rd.
No, that's why I was waiting, we're already here.
The parade, how about that? Well, come back here.
The
I usually don't do those.
15th or 22nd.
I would say the 15th or 22nd would be better for me to gather the ducks in a row.
Yes.
Okay. Since you replied nicely.
So what
Did you say I was.
Either, would you be inclined to meet again on a Wednesday night?
Yes.
Or,
Yes.
or we could do Thursday, I guess.
It depends on the Thursday. I've got one long weekend that I'm gonna
Thursday,
do on Thursday, come back on Sunday.
How about this? I will coordinate with Jade.
That's
We'll look at
great.
your existing schedule and we will target the week of either July 8th or 15th. Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't say the 8th. We said the 15th or the 22nd. We'll pull some dates for availability and we can figure out a time to reconvene.
Okay.
All right. What do we think? Was this a productive discussion? It was worthwhile?
Are you gonna?
No,
It's a start,
Are you gonna type this
put
up
out
and
everything up there.
to us?
I will, yes.
That
I
would
will
be
get
fun
this.
to have.
I will have this to you in advance.
Pictures of it, but anyway.
Yeah, she's gonna,
I will get it to you in advance. Typed up. And I will ask for David's input since he wasn't able to come. Any other parting thoughts?
Is there gonna be a point where we actually have somebody from football, no disrespect to you at all? From the plan, sit with us, or get some of their ideas, just,
Board or from?
oh,
yeah, I
yeah,
guess so.
I think we definitely, this is a great opportunity for us to partner with the planning board. Once we reach that point, it makes sense.
You get some different ideas, like
Yeah.
drawing and.
We're also required to meet with them certain frequency, so we could check that box.
Twice a year per the charter.
Right.
I'm actually, meeting with Steve tomorrow, so. Talk about what.
And I can also start to get some of the more information pieces that you've asked for, so you have more thoughts to consider while so that you're making informed choices.
Lauren, I want to thank you. That was amazing.
That was
Thank you for
great.
leading us through this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Job.
I appreciate your time and the thoughts, and I know it's a lot, you spend a lot of time on Tuesday nights, so I thank you for taking a Wednesday to spend on this.
No, this was important, so we're really able to think about it. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Who wants to second it? Who say it out loud?
Oh, second, I second it.
Discussion? Mr. Quinto, Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
And myself, yes, we're adjourned.